This afternoon, Accra High Court dismisses NPP's injunction application seeking to halt the conduct of the July 11th rerun of 19 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency. Also to come, government announces the official cancellation of the immediate past NPP's flagship One District, One Factory initiative. And later, ENI to temporarily shut down its gas processing plant for essential repair works aimed at boosting gas production to approximately 270 million standard cubic feet per day. It's News Central here on TV3. I'm Kemini Amano. News Central starts right now. Well, let's make a first stop in the courts where the High Court has dismissed the NPP's injunction application seeking to halt the July 11th election rerun in the Ablekuma North constituency. In an ex-party application, the party sought to restrain the Electoral Commission from proceeding with the rerun in 19 out of 281 polling stations following a dispute over the outcome. Lawyers for the NPP's parliamentary candidate, TEWU-GH, asked the court to grant a 10-day injunction against the EC pending the determination of a substantive case. TEWU-GH filed the legal action despite her party's decision not to participate in the upcoming election. Court correspondent Lord Edward Saris joining us with some details of this latest development. Lord, good afternoon. Talk to us about what went down in court today.
Right, Kemini. So, lead counsel for the TEWU-GH was Gary Namako, and he argued in court that he wanted the 10-day injunction on the exercise, which is due on Friday, because, according to him, the Electoral Commission has been consistent in their communications, press releases, and even a briefing in Parliament when Deputy Dr. Basari came to the floor, as can you recall, when he told the House that they are not going to have a rerun because there are only 3 outstanding polling stations yet to be collated, and indeed asked for security for them to complete this exercise. And so he was surprised when the Electoral Commission now turned around to indicate that there were 19 outstanding polling stations, for which reason they wanted to carry out the rerun. He presented his affidavit in support, buttressing, also added his exhibit showing the press releases that the Electoral Commission had indicated all these. So that is the point that this is not a case that the Electoral Commission should be made to continue or go ahead with the rerun on Friday. But after listening to his argument, the judge in the matter, Justice Ali Baba Abatue, indicated that indeed he dismissed this, but indicated that if the TEWU-GH in the end wins the substantive, the government, the position to adequately compensate her in damages in case she should win the case. And so this was basically the thrust of what happened in court today. I chased down Gary and even Nanika to take their thoughts and essentially their reaction, but none of them were willing to speak to us. Gary, as you see, he just walked right straight to his vehicle and then left the court premises. So basically, that's what happened in court today.
I see. So she didn't get the opportunity to let the press know how she felt about the court's ruling?
Not at all, but from his countenance, he wasn't pleased man, I should say. He was very upset with what the decision of the court is, especially because the substantive case, which is the Sassuara, is still pending. And so we're looking at how things will pan out in case that is granted. But like the judge had indicated, if Nameka is granted substantive, he's saying that the arm of government is well positioned to compensate it. You see how any of that will pan out. But when it comes to Nameka, I'm actually there to the car park, trying to get her to talk. Some of the people around her trying to talk me and all that. But even she herself, she didn't look like a happy person at all. She was a mix of emotions, mostly negative emotions, because she appeared upset and not someone that was ready to talk at all. Despite the fact that I posed a number of questions to her about what she thought about it, looking at the fact that they submitted enough evidence on the floor of Parliament with the exhibits and affidavit in support to buttress that interim injunction that they were seeking.
I see. So Lord, explain to us, in the scheme of things, as far as legal proceedings are concerned, the Electoral Commission has the all clear to organize the rerun on Friday?
Indeed, Kemi, as it stands now, with this injunction application has been dismissed, they have the green light to go ahead with the rerun on Friday without any friction or tension whatsoever. And I mean, we still do not know when the case for that substantive case is going to be heard, because there's no hearing notice, or the State Court hasn't given a date for the hearing of that 2 minutes.
Very well, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Lord Edu Asare is our court correspondent. To move away from the court and turn attention to government business, because the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, has confirmed that government has cancelled the One District, One Factory initiative and industrialization policy that was established by the past administration. Along with the cancellation of this policy, she indicated that the policy failed to provide the necessary incentives, but added that the ministry has ventured into agro-processing parks under the 24-hour economy policy. Now, the TEWU-GH North legislator touted the government's flagship 24-hour economy policy as the game changer and one that seeks to make the country more vibrant.
Mr. Speaker, I want to draw my colleagues' kind attention to the fact that as of now, there is no policy as 1D, 1F. I thank you. But in the absence of 1D, 1F, the ministry is into agro-processing parks. And so if you listen to the 24-hour economy launch, the 24-hour economy is the new thing on the block, the game changer, that which seeks to make Ghana very vibrant, irrespective of the minutes of the hour, the time of the day. And we are doing agro parks. And these agro parks, which seeks to be a great game changer, especially in the agro processing zones, are being worked on to ensure that we are able to produce more around the clock for import substitution and for export, for foreign exchange earning, and more importantly, to create jobs for our team youth. I thank you very much.
The Trade Minister there. Now let's have a quick chat about this revelation by Elizabeth, or from Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, the Minister in the House on Tuesday. We'll now speak with development economist Nicholas Isaka Gbana. I mean, we're not surprised that there is a lack of continuity here, but I'd like to hear from you what your reaction is to the termination of this policy. A good move? Nicholas, we can't hear you. You'd have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, and good afternoon to your viewers and listeners. I'm not surprised because in the 2025 budget statement, the Minister of Finance had already given an indication that 1D, 1F would not be continued. But I must say that there is some kind of continuity under the 24-hour economy policy. So, for instance, if you notice, I think about 2 months ago, the same Ministry of Trade and Industry put out an advert for people to come and take over management, control, and operations of 1D, 1F factories in certain specific districts. So as much as they've cancelled it as another, and they've cancelled 1D, 1F, there's still going to be some amount of continuity, because otherwise they will not be putting out such an advert to say that people should bid to take over some of those factories that have been built under 1D, 1F. Let me also add that if you look at the 1D, 1F, it was covering 6 sectors: agro-processing, textiles and garments, pharmaceuticals, paper and products, packaging. Essentially, if you look at the 24-hour economy policy proposal, the MIG-24 component, which deals with manufacturing, we still have the same sectors: agro-processing, textiles and garments, pharmaceuticals. Second point to note is that under 1D, 1F, there were 3 core incentives for industry. One was tax exemptions. Second was concessionary financing from the likes of Ghana Exim Bank. The third element was interest rate subsidies. Once again, if you look at 24-hour economy, the document, you have 4 key incentives: lease-free land, import duty exemptions, access to finance, and what they call centralized services. So fundamentally, I don't see very much of a difference. The key issue would lie in implementation. Of course, 1D, 1F implementation ran into some difficulties. That is a separate conversation. So it's essentially how the implementation of 24-hour economy will be done to ensure that some of the lessons from the failure of 1D, 1F are learned, and we don't repeat the same mistakes. And the 24-hour economy.
I'd have us get into that. But I mean, from what you're saying, we're looking at a rather similar playbook titled differently. What good is a name change to the government, to the people?
Well, I think you should understand that it's also, policy is also very much political. I mean, let's face it. So a party contests an election on the manifesto, they must present something new. I mean, of course, if you are contesting an election and you came to tell the voters that you're going to continue the policies of the party you are hoping to overthrow from power through the ballot box, then why should voters vote for you? So let's understand the politics about it. But like I said, fundamentally, by way of sectors, by way of incentives, I don't really see much of a difference. I mean, the big new thing in 24-hour economy is the Volta Economic Corridor. That is entirely new. But industrial parks are not new. There's already an existing World Bank project, the Ghana Economic Transformation Project, which started in 2019, would end in June 2026. That is doing what they call special economic zones: Masi, Sekedi, Shama, Tema, Busa, Sabluga. Now that project is ongoing. I mean, the ministry hasn't said they are cancelling that. That is ongoing. And that, in a sense, also feeds into the 24-hour economy. So for me, I'm more concerned about the implementation. How about the implementation will be
right? So let's talk about the implementation, right? Compared to the 1D, 1F, what are the pitfalls? What are the blind spots that this government under the 24-hour economy, which mimics some of the things that you've mentioned already, and that the 1D, 1F should be avoiding? What should they be avoiding?
Number one is who qualifies for the tax exemptions. If you recall, in 2024, there was a big political tussle in Parliament over tax exemptions for 42 companies worth $335 million. The then minority, even 3 minority members, some of whom are ministers today, went to the Supreme Court to challenge that. And there have been all kinds of stories flying around. Of course, we don't have evidence that some of these incentives were being sold out. So the critical issue is to ensure that there's openness, there's fairness, there's transparency as to who qualifies. There are no underhand dealings. That for me is number one. Number two, when it comes to concessionary financing, of course, we've all heard stories about how Ghana Exim money has been given to people who were politically exposed under the previous government, which is not a subject of TEWU-GH investigations. We don't have to repeat that under 24-hour economy. So for me, these are the fundamental issues in implementation. Nothing really outside the box, just very basics.
But you've seen the 24-hour economy policy document. and how, the plan for implementation will be, does it give you hope that what you seek, what you talk about now, will be done for an effective implementation?
Well, I'm hopeful. 1D1F started with a lot of hope. As always, our governments come in with a lot of hope. We all are hopeful. So at this stage, I'll say that I'm hopeful, just the same way I was hopeful when 1D1F was launched. And so let's just hope that they get it right and that they learn lessons from the failures of the past and don't go and repeat those same mistakes.
Indeed, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Nicholas Isakagbana is a development expert. We've been discussing the outgone now, 1D, 1F, and to be replaced by aspects of the 24-hour economy. Let's turn attention to labor now, because organized labor is urging government to go beyond its current target of 1.7 million jobs under the proposed 24-hour economy policy. In an exclusive interview with our labor affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku, leaders of the TUC and NAT stressed that job creation must be matched with strong support for local businesses, ensuring they are well financed to boost domestic production.
President John Dramani Mahama officially launched the much anticipated 24-hour economy policy, an initiative aimed at boosting productivity by keeping viable businesses running around the clock. The policy proposed a 3-shift system with workers operating 8 hours per shift to ensure continuous operations across key sectors. It's expected to create at least 1.7 million jobs, primarily in areas such as pharmaceuticals, manufacturing, construction, and other critical industries. But while the ambition is high, organized labor says it should go even higher. The Trade Union Congress TUC and the Ghana National Association of Teachers (NAT) are urging government to look beyond the numbers. TUC Secretary General Joshua Ansah insists the focus must be on creating decent and sustainable jobs, not just hitting a target.
If even they're able to create that one, this is just the beginning. It's a new thing altogether. So if the government is able to create 1.7 million jobs, I think it will reduce the unemployment situation in this very country. But we are concerned as union about labor rights, the type of job that will be created by this type of 24-hour economy, and for which people are going to engage. Our teaming youth outside there, they all need jobs. But I think that we need better job for them so that they can also make life better for themselves.
He also stressed the need for a solid infrastructure plan, especially a stable and reliable power supply to support 24-hour operations nationwide.
Electricity must be 24-hour. Water must flow, because there are some companies that use water throughout. Roads is very, very key in this. Then finally, financial security. Gone are the days, some few years back, you can see that some of the filling stations were closing or they were doing 24 hours. But because of armed robbery, they had to stop. So if we are resetting it, we are bringing it back, then we need to look at that section.
The General Secretary of NAT, Thomas Tanko Musa, says the policy must also prioritize boosting local production and food consumption.
Drugs Authority on board, the universities, those who are the food science and all that, they should tell us more about the food that we eat. And aside that, various schools, and also we must encouraging them to be consuming what we produce and be producing what we eat, among other things. And I believe that our leaders should be seen, not only they preaching to us what we must eat, they must also be seen to be eating the very things, the local things that we are talking about.
He further called for a legislative framework to protect the policy's continuity.
The people must own it. That's why I'm using a free SHSO. There will be no government that will come and say, free SHS have cancelled it. You dare not do that. National Chocolate Day, you can't come and cancel it. So in the same way, the 24-hour economy is a good thing. We must follow through it like the way we have done for the National Chocolate Day, so that people will now go into it. We will all be committed to it. We will be eating what we are producing and be producing what we are what?
Now, commercial activities along the Eastern Corridor Road in the Oti region and TEWU-GH Plains in the Eastern region are steadily declining following constant deterioration of the road's infrastructure there. Stanley Nible will report that the situation requires urgent government attention.
The
The road was earmarked for construction during the previous NDC regime to enhance transportation and connectivity in the eastern part of the country while facilitating trade, economic development, and regional integration. The road is a critical trade artery linking southern coastal ports to the northern regions and neighboring landlocked countries. Despite some visibly commendable work done on part of the corridor, vast stretches remain untarred and in a deplorable state. Continuous rainfall has worsened the situation, eroding the road surface and creating deep gullies, especially along the Nkwantak-Basa-Damanko section. Further beyond Hohoe in the Volta region, the condition is equally dire, making driving on the stretch a risky and frustrating experience for motorists. The Eastern Corridor is also vital for transporting agricultural produce from farm gates to markets across the country, especially in Accra and Kumasi. Its poor state poses a significant threat to food supply chains and livelihoods. The Minister for Roads and Highways, Gavin Kwame Agboja, acknowledged the concerns.
If you were to consume yam today in Accra, that yam probably came from Yendi in part of the northern region. I wish you know how the trucker who brought the yam to Tema managed to bring the yam here, especially if the person used the Eastern Corridor using Pasa section in the rainy season. You will weep for that driver. But they manage these things. And I'm saying that it is not acceptable in Pasa, it's not acceptable at Pokwase. So we need to work as a people to be able to address all these problems.
He said the government has included the road's completion in its big push infrastructure agenda.
We had discussions with the contractor. In fact, it's one of those projects the president directed that should be captured, taken on board as a big push so that we can prioritize and complete them on schedule. So the contractors are all mobilizing to restart those projects. So it will be completed now under the big push.
The Eastern Corridor is not the only road demanding urgent attention. The Echi Amman from Donkokrom Road in Afram Plains in the eastern region, long neglected, has become a haven for armed robbery. Criminals are taking advantage of the deteriorated road conditions to ambush vehicles, leading to growing insecurity. As a result, commercial activities have waned drastically. Essential services like education are under threat, with teachers among those recently attacked.
This mark is as a result of armed robbery attack. I was traveling on the road and then I was attacked by armed robbers. And in the course of the attack, I had this injury, which I was hospitalized for almost a week because the brutality and then the torture was too much. We therefore call on the government and all stakeholders to beef up security on our roads.
Residents are concerned.
A significant portion of farm produce comes from our farm plains, but due to the rising cases of robbery, many traders have stopped patronizing the community. Our roads are in deplorable condition. Commuters who embark on early morning trips from Donkokrom are often attacked by robbers, and this is gradually crippling the local transport industry.
For road users, each passing day brings higher cost, lost income, and growing fear. While promises under the big push agenda bring some hope, residents say they cannot wait any longer. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Basa, Oti Region.
In a similar development, commuters plying the Ofankor in Sawem Road are bearing the brunt of its deplorable condition as commercial transport operators continue to charge exorbitant fares for their services. According to drivers, the situation is expected to worsen if contractors do not return to complete the stall projects. Reports by Stanley Nibleu.
Construction works on the Ofankor-Sam Road is steadily progressing, particularly from Ofankor to Amasaman, where asphalt works have been completed and pedestrian footbridges are being mounted at strategic points. However, beyond Amasaman, the situation takes a stark turn. Motorists are compelled to navigate a severely dilapidated stretch, hampering smooth travel and exposing road users to daily stress and danger. The construction is being handled by Maripoma Enterprise Limited, a local firm. But complaints abound regarding the slow pace of work beyond Amasaman, with traders encroaching on the road's median, and abandoned vehicles further worsening the condition. Passengers say they are the worst hit as commercial drivers exploit the bad road to charge exorbitant fares.
At
times, we are forced to charge higher expenses because each trip often results in vehicle damage due to poor road network. The cost of spare parts is high, so the increased fare helps cover these repair expenses. Commercial transport operators charge varying fares, which is a concern for passengers.
During the news team's visit, rainfall had temporarily subdued the dust that typically pollutes commuters.
The weather has been good today, which is why there is no dust at the moment. Everyone here typically wears a nose mask. The condition of the road has caused damage to many vehicles along the stretch, and the breakdown vehicles often lead to traffic congestion.
The rains also contribute to heavy vehicular traffic and prolonged travel times, with commuters spending hours on what should be a relatively short journey. Delays in completing the project have largely been blamed on government's inability to pay contractors. But the Roads and Highways Minister insists that it's about to change.
The Ofankor project is approaching $350 million, and of which just about half of that has been paid. If we don't prioritize that under the big push, it will be difficult to complete. So the big push projects are now not only what the president promised during the electioneering campaign, but he has directed that for the sake of his own commitment to complete ongoing projects, we take over some of those projects. So the Ofankor, Kaswa, Winneba are all now part of the big push.
The Ofankor Sam Road remains a crucial transportation corridor for thousands of commuters daily. While progress is visible in parts, the hardship endured by motorists and passengers highlight the urgent need for completion. With government now releasing part of the 21 billion cedis owed contractors, road users are hopeful that the long delays will soon be a thing of the past. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Accra.
ENI will temporarily shut down its gas plant on Sunday, July 13th, for essential repair works aimed at boosting gas production to approximately 270 million standard cubic feet per day. The Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Jinapor, confirmed the scheduled maintenance, acknowledging that the shutdown may result in temporary power outages. He, however, urged the public to remain patient, emphasizing that the upgrade is necessary to enhance long-term energy reliability for the Ghanaian people.
Because the plant will be turned off for that short period within the day for maintenance works, we are likely to experience some interaction or interruption of power. Please bear with us. It is for good purpose. It is to enable us stabilize the power. We've done all the scenarios, we've done all the analysis, and based on the advice from the engineers, I've directed that we do not attempt to run those plants on liquid fuels for that short period, because it involves changing nozzles, it involves a lot of work. And so if you are going to be off for about 4 to 6 hours, you don't risk it transitioning to liquid fuels only to come back to gas. We are working around the clock to minimize any potential adverse impact during that period. But I want to appeal to Ghanaians to bear with us for that short period. Once the work is done, we shall stabilize supply of gas, increase gas production, and that will improve the delivery of power.
Let's have a quick chat on the back of this. I'll bring in now spokesperson for the Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Richmond Roxon. Richmond, I appreciate you talking to us. Let's talk about the specific repair works that will be carried out during the shutdown? What are we looking at? Richmond, can you hear us? Oh, great. It would appear we have some delay in communication, but I was asking the nature of repair works to be carried out during the shutdown on Sunday. Oh, we cannot hear Richmond at this time. We would have to reconnect with Richmond there. The connection is terrible, as terrible as it comes, and we'll work on that. But you should know the Minister for Energy and Green Transition has already announced that there will be impact on power supply to your homes, your businesses, and it's not just one particular neighborhood, it's the entire country, because of the shutdown of ENI to make it more productive and efficient, give us more gas to improve power generation in the country. It's unclear how long this maintenance work will be when the shutdown takes place on July 13th. We'll find out from Richmond when we reconnect with him. In the meantime, while we work on that connection, we'll take our very first break. When we come back, let's talk about how impactful that will be. Don't go away. It's still News Central here on TV3. I'm Kamini Amano. As you very well know, ENI will temporarily shut down its gas processing plant on Sunday, July 13 for essential repair works aimed at boosting gas production to approximately 270 million standard cubic feet per day. Now, this scheduled maintenance may result in temporary power outages, despite an assurance that the upgrade is necessary to enhance long-term energy reliability for Ghanaians. Let's try Richmond again. Richmond Roxon is spokesperson for the Minister for Energy and Green Transition. Richmond, I hope we have you here now, but let's talk about the specifics of the announcement the minister made. What's the nature of the repair works to be undertaken during the shutdown?
Good afternoon, Kamini, and thank you for the opportunity. Let me say that this is not a maintenance or a repair work. What this is a modification, better still, you can say an upgrade of the system to be able to increase the supply of non-associated gas flow. As we speak, the supply is around 240 million cubic feet. What this is going to do is that it's going to increase the gas that we get to 270 MMscf. And this is necessary for our power supply. If you look at our generation mix, some of our power plants rely on natural gas. It's cleaner, it's cheaper, and it provides us significant cost savings as compared to liquefied gas. And that is what this upgrade is about.
I see. So when the minister says that it would have impact on power supply, what does he mean?
Some of our power plants, like I put it, some of our power plants rely on natural gas. Some also rely on natural gas and liquid fuels. So some of the plants that rely on definitely will have a deficit because of the shutdown. But the ministry, together with the power sector stakeholders, have put in place measures to ensure that the people of Ghana continue to enjoy stable power supply on the day. Even if there are going to be any interruptions, the interruptions will be very minimal, as we expect this to be 4 to 6 hours. We don't expect it to go beyond that. But like I said, even if there are going to be disruptions when it comes to power supply, the works are ongoing to ensure that it is very minimal.
But Richmond, when I listen to you, you seem to downplay the impact it could have on power supply. The minister, on the other hand, is actually practically pleading with the Ghanaian people to bear with them as they shut down for the upgrade. So which one should we believe at this time?
I haven't said anything different from what the minister said. And let me take the opportunity to say that widely we noticed the misreportage that a number of media houses have put out there. Some have even described it as a nationwide blackout. That is false. That is inaccurate. He played the soundbite from the minister. I was there in person yesterday when he made a statement in Kumasi. What the minister said was that it's going to be shut down. We're looking at 4 to 6 hours. There's a possibility, a potential disruption in power supply. And disruption in power supply can, like I said, it's potential. It may happen, maybe 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour. But like I said, all plans have been put
I see, Richmond. I'm struggling a little bit. I want us to, take a listen to the minister again, and then we'll come back to what you're telling us. Let's take a listen to the minister.
Because the plant will be turned off for that short period within the day for maintenance works, we are likely to experience some interaction or interruption of power. Please bear with us. It is for good purpose. It is to enable us stabilize the power. We've done all the scenarios, we've done all the analysis. And based on the advice from the engineers, I've directed that we do not attempt to run those plants on liquid fuels for that short period, because it involves changing nozzles, it involves a lot of work. And so if you are going to be off for about 4 to 6 hours, you don't risk it transitioning to liquid fuels only to come back to gas. We are working around the clock to minimize any potential adverse impact during that period. But I want to appeal to Ghanaians to bear with us for that short period. Once the work is done, we shall stabilize supply of gas, increase gas production, and that will improve the delivery of power.
But Richmond, so clearly your position now is different from what the minister has told us, asking the Ghanaian people in the latter part of that insert to bear with them while they embark on the upgrade program, or, you know, however you classify it.
Yes, when you take one part of what the minister said, the first thing the minister said was that it is likely that we are going to experience some interruptions, and he proceeded to say we are working around the clock to ensure that even if it will happen, there will be minimal impact, and that is exactly the point I've just made. That the ministry, together with the power sector,
Richmond, he didn't say even if it will happen. He says you're working around the clock to ensure that the impact is minimal. It is different from telling the Ghanaian people at this time that the media got it wrong when we reported that there will be impact, because that is what the minister said.
I mean, what I said was that some media houses have reported that there will be nationwide blackout. The minister never said that. That is what I sought to clarify. That the minister was categorical that, one, there's going to be an upgrade by ENI. Number two, there's a possibility of experiencing disruptions in power supply. Number three, the ministry is working around the clock to ensure that there's minimal, even if that will happen, it will be minimal impact. And that's the point that
So again, you know, Sunday is just around the corner, Richmond. Help us understand in real terms what minimal impact looks like when the system is shut down for the 4 to 6 hour period that the minister spoke about.
There are a number of options available to the ministry and power sector players. Don't forget, number one, there's export. The ministry has the option to reduce export or to cut down export on the day. You also have the option of cutting down what's supplied to industry. Some come, for example, to reduce the power supply that goes to them. And that is why I said that there are plans in place to ensure that it doesn't happen. Even if it happens, the impacts will be minimal. And that is why I'll reiterate the point the minister made, that in the event you have minimal disruptions, the people of Ghana should bear with the ministry, and that is for a good purpose.
So as a consumer, my question is, will my lights go off or not on Sunday?
At this point in time, we don't expect the lights to go off. Even if it goes off, it will be minimal and for a short while.
How short is a short while?
The minister put out that we are expecting disruptions between 4 to 6 hours. Disruptions between 4 to 6 hours. It doesn't mean that the power will go off 4 to 6 hours. It's possible that your lights will have to be put out for 30 minutes. It will be back, and then at the end of the day, you rationally to ensure that it is minimal.
I appreciate your time with us, Richmond. Thank you so much for the clarification. Richmond Roxon is spokesperson for the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. We've been talking about the announcement earlier about the temporary shutdown of ENI for an upgrade process. Now, let's turn attention to the president, because John Dramani Mahama has unveiled an ambitious vision for Ghana's maritime future, highlighting national security, economic opportunity, and regional cooperation as key pillars for growth and resilience. The announcement came during the 4th International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conference held at the Burma camp, where the president's speech was delivered on his behalf by Chief of Staff Julius Debra.
In a message that resonated with purpose, President Mahama called for a new era of maritime innovation and security in Ghana and across the West African sub-region.
We are exploring various avenues to equip the Navy with offshore patrol vessels and fast patrol boats to augment existing platforms. As part of our 8-pillar strategy under the National Research Agenda, Ghana aims to become West Africa's premier regional hub for trade and investment.
The president's statement emphasized that maritime security is not just a defense issue, but a foundation for economic development.
Africa's blue economy holds unlimited potential, from fisheries and offshore oil to shipping and international trade. The seas around us are a lifetime for economic development and regional integration. Yet our maritime domain is under persistent threat. In West Africa, the Gulf of Guinea remains one of the world's most vulnerable regions to maritime insecurity.
The Chief of Staff reiterated Ghana's intention to intensify joint maritime operations and deepen collaboration with ECOWAS, the African Union, and global partners to combat piracy, illicit trafficking, and environmental threats in the Gulf of Guinea. The address also revealed government's plans to strengthen the Ghana Navy and allied maritime agencies through increased investment in surveillance technologies, joint training programs, and maritime research institutions. The IMDEC 2025 continues to host global defense and industry leaders. Ghana's prominent role in shaping maritime security and economic development remains a focal point.
The president has also called for a bold, youth-driven national response to rising HIV infection rates among young Ghanaians, describing the trend as deeply worrying and avoidable. Speaking at the launch of Ghana's 2025 voluntary national review of the Sustainable Development Goals on Tuesday, President Mahama said the increasing HIV prevalence among the youth reflects serious shortfalls in communication, education, and support systems.
In addition, it said that over 50% of pregnant women in Ghana suffer from some form of anemia. And so this is a direct reflection of poor nutrition, inequality, and inadequate health education. Addressing this is not a choice, it is a necessity for our mother and children's future. We're also alarmed by the rising HIV rates, especially amongst our young people. This points to a failure in communications, stigma, and limited access to sexual health education. We need a bold, youth-led national conversation on prevention, supported by our schools, by our health workers, our parents, and the media. Prevention is essential, but empowerment is the key.
You're watching TV3. This is News Central. I'm Kemini Amano. We'll be right back.
Parents, mark your calendars. It's the 3FM Baby Fair happening live on the 11th to the 13th of July.
Welcome back. The ongoing strike by members of the Teachers and Education Workers Union has severely impacted sanitation management at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. While university management has taken measures to prevent disruptions to the mid-semester examination underway, TEWU-GH has warned that the final exams could face major setbacks if their demands remain unresolved before the next exam period. To get a clearer picture of the situation on ground, we now cross over to our Ashanti region correspondent, Ibrahim Abubakar. He's been monitoring events closely at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Ibrahim, what else can you tell us about the impact of the strike there?
Well, Kemini, like rightly mentioned, when it comes to the sanitation issue, you realize that gradually it's becoming overwhelming. Even though we have members who are TEWU-GH at KNUST, their number is quite insignificant compared to TEWU-Ghana members. In fact, it's not only even the sanitation sector. When it comes to even security on campus, leadership of TEWU-Ghana have ensured that every member complies. So even as we speak, they keep monitoring activity, moving from one place to the other, making sure that none of their members is on campus to render any service. In fact, the students began their midterm exams on Monday. Members of TEWU usually hold the key to the various lecture halls and even examination centers. They decided not to open, but management had to intervene, forcing some TEWU-GH members to take charge and make sure that these students are able to observe their midterm examination uninterrupted. But like they said, if nothing is being done to resolve or address their concern, then the final exam, they will make sure that the exams wouldn't come on at all. Let's listen to what the local chairman, Charles Atta, has been saying.
The truth of the matter is that the strike is a lawful one. So the place that they are going to have a mid-semester, it is we who controls it. We open it and clean it. We will just close it. And if you close it and you said you're a lecturer, you open it, then whatever will happen will happen. So we are still insisting that Minister of Education and Minister of Employment and Labour Relations should sit down and resolve this matter straightforward. Like we are saying, we gave two demands. One, he should withdraw the letter that he has sent to the various public universities to allow a minority group, TEWU-GH, to go onto the council. And then two, we should go to the verification and count every university. They come to KNUST, they count us, we know that KNUST is TEWU-Ghana, then TEWU-Ghana will lead in KNUST. You go to Legon, it's TEWU-TUC, they will lead. You go, then that will bring, peace. And
Ibrahim, I appreciate the reporting. Ibrahim Abubakar joined us from the Ashanti region, where he's our correspondent. Let's turn attention to something else, because Chairman of the Ghana National Research Fund, Professor Eric Yirinchi Dankwa, has commended the government for the institution of the Ghana Research Fund. He says inequalities in accessing global research funding are partly hampering development on the continent, particularly here in Ghana. He told journalists on the sidelines of a two-day research forum in Kumasi.
So much inequalities around the world, and Ghanaian scientists cannot access funding to take their work forward. It's important for Ghana to fund its own scientists so the scientists can deliver African solutions to African problems. Very important, because no one is going to fund you to solve your problems. You have to fund yourselves. And so the Ghana National Research Fund has come at an opportune time for scientists to access funding. In my talk, I gave some recommendations. At the present time, the Ghana National Research Fund Act has captured seed grant of 15 million Ghana cedis and 0.5% of national budget to the fund, which is great. It's a great start for us as a country because it has never happened in history.
We'll now turn attention to the Western region, where the Ghana Private Road Transport Union is calling for the immediate relocation of traders operating at the Jubilee Park at Takoradi, as well as the removal of commercial drivers running unauthorized lorry stations in the area. According to the union, the activities of these traders and illegal lorry stations are causing unbearable traffic congestion and undermining the operations as commuters are increasingly diverted from official terminals. Owing to this fact, the union has issued a one-week ultimatum to the Western Regional Minister demanding swift action to restore sanity to the area.
Ajib, which is close to the Jubilee Park. This place has been the fulcrum for a lot of controversies here in the Western region. As you can see behind me, the gridlock is piling up. The causes of this gridlock is largely being attributed to the trading activity that is being permitted at the Jubilee Park and also some unauthorized lorry stations that are being allowed to operate at this stretch. Speaking with the drivers at this place, they say whenever they go to the main lorry terminal, they don't get space to operate. Hence, for them to get their daily meal, they have to be operating from this stretch. But the GPRTU in the Western region is not taking any of this reason. They are saying the continuous operation of this unauthorized lorry terminal is affecting their business.
GPRTU draws renewed attention to the unauthorized use of the Kwame Nkrumah interchange area, commonly known as Ajib, for commercial loading and market activities. This location was previously declared a no-go zone due to its inclusions in the Takoradi airstrip and its unsuitability for any form of commercial or transport activities. Despite these clear directives, the area continues to be used as a lorry terminal and market, with operations ongoing at both Ajib and Jubilee Park. This has resulted in severe congestion and disorder, contrary to the city's long-term planning efforts.
The union, in registering their displeasure at a press conference, issued a one-week ultimatum to the Western Regional Minister and the MCAs to relocate the traders and drivers to the Premdo market. They warned that failure to act within the given time frame will provoke a strong response.
In light of this, the GPRTU is calling on the Western Regional Minister, Joseph Nelson, to enforce the immediate relocation of all loading and market activities from Kwame Nkrumah interchange and Jubilee Park to the Premdo market as originally planned. If no decisive action is taken within 1 week of this release, the union will have no option than to advise ourselves.
Stephen Kujo for TV3 Takoradi.
Oh, that's it from across the regions. And that'll be all for today here on News Central. Thank you so much for your company. Coming up now is the afternoon show. I'm Kameni Amana. Bye-bye.